I've always had a bit of a passion for odd jobs. When I was a teenager, I discovered Craigslist, and everything just kind of snowballed from there. You wouldn't believe the kinds of things you can find on the internet, the kind of jobs you can secure without having to do any paperwork. Most of the time, the people hiring either don't want to be traceable by the government, or they're just far too desperate at that point to add any additional hoops to jump through. That was how I met Chelsea. It was actually a really funny story, perfect for telling at parties. It would be perfect for our wedding, too, and for telling our kids. It would have been, at least. We met because we had both been hired to come to this birthday party, a kid turning 11. Neither of us fully knew what the job entailed when we agreed, which might have been a sign that we shouldn't have, but we were both informed we'd be paid handsomely, and that was all that either of us needed to hear. When we got there, Frank, a middle-aged guy with a salt and pepper beard who smelled strongly of patchouli and marinara sauce, informed us we were to get in a huge screaming match around the middle of the party. We were playing a couple from a few houses down who were really on the fritz, I guess. We weren't told why, just what to do. I'm still not sure why he wanted us to do that. I was hesitant. I wasn't much of an actor. But Chelsea, she threw herself into the role wholeheartedly. A couple hours later, we were sitting on the curb a block away, and she was holding a bag of frozen carrots against my swollen cheekbone, and I was nursing a blunt, wincing at how my chocolate milk-soaked clothing stuck to my skin. We compared stories of our strangest jobs, our craziest experiences, the worst things we ever done to make a couple bucks. We both agreed that anything below a felony was fair game, but we gravitated towards weird, yet legal and harmless tasks. She had a passion for all of it that I'd never seen in anyone I'd ever met. She was really doing it for the experiences, not the money. She was a thrill seeker. I fell in love with her quickly, like getting hit over the head with a blunt object. It was aggressive and immediate. A couple of months later, we got a place together, and the rest was history. We fell into a nice domestic routine. She made me coffee in the morning and kissed my forehead when I walked into the kitchen. We took turns cooking dinner and doing the dishes, and we watched hours of reality television slop on our sofa that was just big enough for two. We talked about the future. We talked about a dog and two kids and a yard. It all just fell into place. Her friends liked me, and my friends liked her, and our families were the same. My mother became a little too obsessed with having a grandchild, and I had to beg her to stop asking Chelsea about her cycle, but none of them knew about our secret life, the jobs we did together when everyone went home. It was just for us, and it was exciting, this secret hobby that we shared. The first call from OEM came on a quiet Friday. Chelsea was at her job as a barista, and I was at home getting some cleaning done before having lunch with my parents, like an old person. I was used to getting calls that didn't have identification, considering all my side jobs, so I didn't bat an eye at the no-caller ID on my screen. What was different, however, was the automated message that played as soon as I picked up the call. This call may be recorded for quality assurance and training purposes. Please state your first and last name and your date of birth. I frowned, tossing the rag I'd been cleaning the stove with on the kitchen counter. Julian Rains, May 14th, 1999. There was a silence, and then a beep. Then a man spoke, non-automated this time. Hello, Mr. Rains. I've been informed you might be looking for a job. When Chelsea got home, I was waiting for her on the couch. She came up behind me, cupped my face in her hands, and kissed the top of my head. Hey, babe, I said, trying to keep the excitement out of my voice. How was work? Exhausting. She slumped over the back of the couch, smushing the cushions. But I got this crazy voicemail. The facility was in what looked like from the outside a dilapidated warehouse. The man who picked us up in a long black car was very quiet, answering our questions in single-word responses and keeping his eyes on the road. Chelsea and I kept giving each other small glances and squeezing each other's hands the entire way there. A man greeted us at the car door, opening it for us with a smile. He was tall and thin, and he wore a crisp suit with his dark hair slicked back, not a strand askew. Mr. and Mrs. Rains, I presume? Chelsea looked down shyly. I was surprised. She was never shy, but this situation definitely felt more professional than what we were used to. We're not married. Oh, I'm so sorry, Miss Sutherland. Miss Sutherland, of course. He reached out to shake her hand and then mine, eager. My name is Malcolm Kessler. You can just call me Kessler. Would you like to know what you are doing here? We let Kessler lead us into the building. On the inside, it looked far less run down. We were greeted with long, white hallways and bustling professionals holding coffees and clipboards, wearing matching white lab coats. Is this like a hospital? Chelsea asked, gazing around in awe. I took her hand again, and she gave it a squeeze. No, not a hospital, although we do certainly have access to those kinds of tools. He offered us a sly grin. We entered a room with a metal table and 4 chairs, and not much else. A woman with her hair tied up in a tight bun came in, placed a stack of papers on the table, and scurried away. Kessler gestured for us to take a seat. This, he said slowly, looking from me to Chelsea and back, this is OEM. Do you know what that stands for? He waited for us to shake our heads before continuing. This is the Office of Enhanced Methods. I blinked at him, the white fluorescent lights making my eyes burn. What does that mean? I'm glad you ask. Kessler leaned back in his seat, folding his hands in his lap. He had quite a sharp face, but it managed to feel charming and welcoming purely from his expression. I wondered if he had practiced that. I'll level with you, he said, quieter than before. I need volunteers, but finding volunteers for something like this is difficult. That's why now we're looking for people like you, people who are interested in doing odd jobs like this one, and we're offering a large amount of compensation. I pressed my lips together, searching his face for any sign of deception or exaggeration. I found none. I glanced back at Chelsea, who was looking at the stack of paperwork. How much compensation? I asked finally, when it became clear that no one else was going to say it. I expected Kessler to laugh. He didn't. Are you two looking to get married? I felt the room heat up. Truthfully, I had bought the ring a month ago. I was just waiting for the right time and a time when we could properly plan for a wedding without the stress of becoming bankrupt for it. Yes, eventually. Have you seen how much those venues cost these days? Kessler raised his eyebrows sympathetically, leaning even closer to us. Not to mention a honeymoon. Are you looking to have kids, start a family, send those kids to college, grow old and retire? The man actually reached out, actually took my hand in one of his, and Chelsea's in his hand. I felt like the air in the room was being sucked out of it. I'm going to be honest with you two. I am not going to mince words. It's tough out there right now. I could make it so you never have to worry about money again. He left us in the room to let us talk alone, and I could have sworn I heard the lock click behind him, but to be fair, I was feeling pretty jumpy at that point. Chelsea and I sat for a moment in silence. This is a lot, she muttered, running her fingers through her hair. This place is crazy. I reached over to flip through the paperwork, chewing on my bottom lip. I saw words like non-disclosure agreement, liability, medical care. I put the paperwork back down and took her hand again. It's a lot of money. He seems serious. Would we be considered, war criminals if we took part in this? She laughed, but I could tell she was anxious. I shrugged slowly. She rubbed at her face with her free hand, a nervous habit of hers. I reached over and tucked some hair behind her ear, smiling. She smiled back, apprehensively. There was something neither of us were saying, something neither of us wanted to point out. How bad was the job to offer that amount of compensation? Still, there was a buzz between us. This was what we did. We signed up for strange things for the experiences. Chelsea lived for things like this. I think I knew the second we got there that she would end up wanting to do it. When Kessler came back, I stood up, pushing my chair back and wiping my sweaty hands on my jeans. What kind of torture are we talking about? His smile was wide. I can show you now if you'd like. He explained as he led us back down the hall, guiding us into a different room that was essentially the exact same as the one we had just been in, but with more cameras mounted on the walls and with different chairs. I winced a little when I saw the wrist and ankle restraints attached to the sterile metal frame. Everything we do here stays within these walls, he told us, gesturing for us to take a seat. We shared a look and then obeyed. Communication-wise, but also physically, we will do nothing to permanently damage you, and we have medical staff on site for any treatment you may need. As if on cue, a man in one of the lab coats bustled into the room pushing a cart. He began strapping down our wrists, leaving our legs unrestrained. Everything is voluntary, Kessler continued. Nothing will happen to you without your explicit consent, although we may need to withhold some details in order to get the most accurate read on your reactions. You can leave or discontinue your contracts at any time. The man in the lab coat started putting on medical gloves. I swallowed hard. What is he going to do? Kessler nodded at the man, who procured a syringe from his cart, examining the needle carefully and then picking up a little glass bottle to draw from. This is just